Why would somebody ghost you? Ghosting is the act of disappearing suddenly out of somebody's life without warning. Maybe the person blocks you, removes you from social media, just wants to have nothing to do with you. And it often catches people off guard. And there are various reasons why somebody may do that. I think it's important to understand that human beings are complex. Not every person is the same. And not every person has the same attachment style. Now, for those of you that are unaware of attachment styles, it's basically patterns of relating to others, right? How you form relationships with people. Some people are more secure in the way that they attach to other human beings. Some people are a little bit more cautious and nervous when it comes to forming attachments with people. The 4 attachment styles, I'll quickly just go through them just to create a better understanding of why somebody may ghost you. But the first attachment style is the secure attachment style. And as the name suggests, this is somebody who feels comfortable with intimacy and independence. And they trust their partners to be reliable and responsive. The anxious attachment style, this is individuals that crave intimacy and closeness, but worry about abandonment and their partner's commitment. People like this tend to seek more closeness and reassurance. Do you still love me? Do you still care about me? Where is this going? The other attachment style is the avoidant attachment style, also known as the dismissive avoidant. These are individuals that value their independence and distance and may be uncomfortable with intimacy and emotional closeness. They may push away potential partners and avoid vulnerability. And then last but not least, the fearful avoidant. This is a combination of both anxious and the avoidant attachment style, characterized by inconsistent and contradictory behaviors in relationships. They often struggle with intimacy and have difficulty forming stable, trusting relationships. Now, why did I, talk about this to start off the video? Because typically people that ghost you have an avoidant attachment style. They really struggle forming connections with people. And oftentimes this is a result of experiences that they've faced in their early years, in their childhood. Oftentimes whenever they were getting closer to somebody, that maybe they were rejected, dismissed, sometimes by their own parents. And so they grow up feeling like they can't trust anybody because the closest people to them didn't show them much love and didn't appreciate the love that they were getting. So it's almost like they hold on to their heart and they don't want to give it to anybody. And, I definitely have a lot of sympathy for people that grew up in difficult environments like that. But it's important to be aware that people are different. And expecting everybody to have the same attachment style as you is naive. It's naive. Human beings are very complex. Different circumstances affect different people in different ways. And it's important to understand that. Not every person is the same. Now, it could have very well been a case of this person feeling like they're starting to like you a lot and it's scaring them. The idea of them getting closer to you and potentially being in a relationship with you scares them because they often resort to thinking, well, what if I get close to this person and then they end up hurting me? You know what, let me just self-sabotage right now. Let me just fuck this up. I'd rather reject them now before they reject me later. It's that kind of mindset. And so they will self-sabotage. And it will catch you off guard. You may be thinking, what happened? We had such a great connection. The chemistry was great. And it may leave you wondering, what's wrong with me? And there very well may be nothing wrong with you. this is a game of almost guessing at this stage, unless I speak to people individually and understand their situation individually. There's several reasons why it could happen, but that's one of them. Somebody's just fearful of getting close to you. Some people like their independence too much, and the idea of having to share their life now with somebody else is intimidating. It disrupts their routine, the way they do things day to day. And now they have to be responsible for putting in effort into a relationship. And some people just don't want to get into a relationship at this point in their life. Now, they may have told you that they do, but what people say versus what they actually do are two different things. Some people may say, yeah, absolutely, I'm down for this, whatever, but then their actions say otherwise. So it's important to pay attention to how people are showing up in your life. There's usually signs that somebody's not as invested in a situation as you are. You may find yourself doing all of the pursuing. You may find yourself doing all of the communication, right? And they respond here and there. There's gaps in communication, significant gaps. And that will reveal where this person stands with you. Now, there's also a possibility that this person may have ghosted you because of something you've done. Absolutely. There are very creepy people out there, I must say. And sometimes you don't intend on being creepy, but you like somebody so much that your neediness starts to overwhelm them. It does. Now, as men, we should have a very relaxed, confident aura about us. When we're meeting women, we are trying to figure out who they are in a very natural way, without trying to escalate things too soon, without revealing strong emotions too soon. Because when you think about it, if you tell a woman, for example, that you love her 2 weeks in, she's going to think, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Because it's not normal to say that too soon, 2 weeks in. You don't know who this person is. They could be a serial killer, right? Now, yeah, they may be a very attractive serial killer, but you don't know who they are. That's the point, right? They could end up having so many issues. So you're trying to navigate this early stage of dating. And the best way to do it is in a very relaxed, confident way. I'm trying to get to know you in the same way that you're trying to get to know me and trying to figure out who I am. Who is this guy? You know, he's wearing fucking suits and who is this dude, right? People are trying to figure you out. When you try and rush things too soon, you communicate desperation, which is not an attractive thing to communicate, especially in the context of dating and relationships. Desperation signifies you have no options. It signifies that you need somebody. Women don't want men that need them. They want men that want them, but not need. Need is very different. Now, women may say things like, well, I want a guy who's obsessed with me, who's always doing this, but they don't actually want that. Because when they experience that, it's like, ugh, it's freaky, it's weird. And I don't mean freaky in that sense. I mean, it's creepy, sorry, right? It's not normal for somebody to be asking for exclusivity a week or 2 weeks into speaking to you. It's not normal for somebody to be expressing grand or doing grand gestures, buying you expensive shit 1 or 2 weeks in, love bombing you like that. It's not really normal for that to be happening. So that can push people away. That can make people think, "Who this person's creepy." Or when you start getting hostile and start saying, why didn't you reply to me? Why didn't you? It's quite aggressive, confrontational. Especially when you're not with this person, you're not in a relationship. They don't owe you shit. I'm going to say that again. If you're not in a committed relationship with this person, they don't owe you anything. In the early stages of dating, they can do whatever they want to do, essentially, right? They don't know who you are. You don't know who they are. Now, does that mean that if you see red flags early on that you should ignore them? No. Even in the early stages of dating, if you see something that doesn't quite look right, pay attention to it. Don't ignore it. Right? But there's a possibility that you have showed up in a very, weak way and push this person away from you. So there's various possibilities. The attachment style is one. The other one is how you approached the interaction. And look, another reason as well is life. Life happens. Sometimes something serious happens. A loved one passes away. And people respond to trauma in various ways. They won't necessarily tell you that something's happened. But you should expect that that's life. And things like this may happen. Somebody at some point may go through a significantly traumatic event and just push everybody that they care about away. It doesn't mean they don't care about you. It's just how they're responding to the difficulty of the situation. In an ideal world, everybody would approach things in a sensible way, a thought-out way, assess the risks of doing each thing, each action, and then come up with a great decision. But that's not how life works. It's chaotic, right? So sometimes extend the grace of, something could have happened. Let me not get hostile. Now, a mistake a lot of guys make when they get ghosted is they get really hostile. They'll maybe find a way to reach out to this person, right? They'll find a way to reach out and they'll start insulting this person. This is why you'll never be in love. This is why. And they'll get really hostile. And that's not a classy thing to do. You don't want to get hostile when somebody rejects you. Take it on the chin. It is what it is. Things like this can happen. Extend the grace. You know what? Maybe something happened in her life that she needed to deal with. I'm going to take a step back. And you know what? If she wants to reach out, she will. If I never hear from her again, it is what it is. But getting hostile, getting angry is not a good approach to take. You got to remember, gentlemen, you don't own anybody. You don't. Even your partner right now that you're happy with and you've been in a relationship with for several years, you don't own her. She's her own human being that can make her own decisions. Things might be great right now. Things may take a turn for the worse in the future. Hopefully not. But that may happen. And if it does, it's life. Right? Of course, if there's something you can do to ensure that the relationship, remains as strong as possible, then do that, And this is by taking care of yourself, by being a good partner, being understanding, apologizing when you're wrong. Of course, right? But sometimes even when you believe you're doing everything right, sometimes it can go south. And feeling like you need to be in control of everything is going to frustrate you, especially when it comes to human beings. Human beings can they can do whatever they want. They can make a decision today that can alter the course of their life forever. At any point, they can do that. So feeling like you need to be in control of everything is going to frustrate you. Remember that when that happens, when somebody ghosts you, it's usually more of a reflection of what they're going through than something you've done. Although, of course, as I've just discussed, it can also be something that you've done yourself. Your neediness, your desperation, right? It can be that. If you were too needy, if you were too overbearing, the last thing you want to be doing now that you've been ghosted is to try and find another way to get in touch. That's just too creepy. You don't want to be doing that. Just take a step back. You know what? I did show a lot more investment and I was too eager, too keen. I'm just going to take a step back now and just live my life, take care of myself, work out. And if there's another shot at this potentially, I will conduct myself differently in a more healthy manner. I'm going to take deep breaths and I'm not going to rush into anything. Okay? Gentlemen, it's important to understand what attachment style we have and why we often act the way that we do. Because it also stems from our own childhood. If we didn't feel loved by mom and dad, we can act out of character in our adult relationships. All right? Some of us have a secure attachment style where we had a great example at home. Mom and dad were in love, showing each other great levels of affection. So we go into our adult life thinking that everybody has a secure attachment style, when in reality, not everybody does. And you have to have sympathy towards those that grew up in hostile environments, in cold environments where mum and dad never showed affection to each other, where mum and dad were really hostile with each other, cold with each other. You know, it affects children, you know. And look, of course, you don't want to hold on to that trauma forever and have it affect your adult relationships, but it does. And unless you look inwards and you start to address that, it won't change. You'll ruin every relationship you get into. This applies for guys and girls. If you don't address the trauma that you experienced growing up, it will destroy everything good that you start in life. So there comes a point where you have to say, you know what? I grew up in a very cold environment. I never saw a good example. However, I want to address that in my own relationship. I don't want to experience the same thing. And so you make those changes. The good thing about human beings is we have the power to make decisions that can change the course of our lives. You don't have to continue living life the way you have done. There are people whose parents were alcoholics, were aggressive to each other, really hostile, and they grew up to be incredible partners. And their marriage was completely a 180 to their parents' marriage, right? It can happen. It's not all doom and gloom. You can have a much better marriage than your parents did if you consciously decide to put in effort into your relationship, to put in effort into understanding your partner better, understanding how they want to be loved. It's going to take some work. Absolutely it will. You're not perfect. You can't go into every encounter with a human being thinking, well, I'm perfect. They're the one that's fucked up. They're the ones that are traumatized. I'm great. No, that's naive thinking. Right? Everybody is different. So try and navigate whatever, relationship you have in the best possible way. Okay? So hopefully this video has given you guys some insight into why things like this may happen. You don't want to be resentful. You don't want to be angry. I don't like making conclusions about people based on a circumstance that has taken place. I don't like making sweeping statements about men or women, because human beings are human beings. Men have a lot of trauma that they go through that affects their future relationships, and so do women, right? Try and be sympathetic. If it happens to you, if somebody ghosts you, it is what it is. Deploy some sympathy. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they found someone else, but don't be hostile about it. Don't be thinking, well, this fucking idiot, why didn't they? Was it a nice thing to have taken place? No, it's not nice being completely ghosted by somebody, but it is what it is. It can happen. To not expect that it will happen is naive, right? It can happen. So it is what it is. Deploy some sympathy there. Take it on the chin. Keep things moving. They may come back and say, listen, I apologize. Things have gone really south in my life. Maybe I lost a loved one, whatever. It can happen that way. And if you never hear from them again, you know what? It is what it is. But don't go into the next encounter negative and pessimistic. No. Keep your head up. Okay, you'll attract the right circumstance. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like, comment, let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.